Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Faculty Lounge today. We're glad you could stop by and join us. We are lucky enough to have Mindy Hintze here from the UEN Professional Development Department. She is the resident expert on Canvas, and she's going to kind of give us an update on what's new in Canvas. Canvas is definitely a tool that keeps updating and changing and hopefully improving. But it's a little hard to keep up with, so we're glad Mindy can give us an update today. Just a reminder, if you got a question or a comment, feel free to enter it down there in the chat room in the lower left-hand corner. And as always, these faculty lounges are recorded and will be posted in the archive, so you can watch them as many times as you like. And with that, let's turn it over to Mindy.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, I forgot to turn my mic on. Okay. Volume's too high? How do I don't know how to lower my volume. Okay. Is that better? Yes? Okay, well, I'm going to keep talking until somebody tells me to shut up, I guess. So, what's new in Canvas? Canvas, if anybody's using it, I don't know that you know that you're on, there's a 6-week kind of production cycle. So they'll implement something in beta for 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks later it'll go into production for everyone to use. So things are often changing. And I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but for me, I know sometimes I open up Canvas one day and something looks a little bit different, or there's a new button. Or what I found is anytime it says advanced options or more options in little teeny tiny font, you go ahead and click on that, because the smaller the font, the more powerful the tool in Canvas. I don't know why it is, but that's the way it is. And there's always something new there. So hopefully this Faculty Lounge will show you some of the things that are new. I went back a couple months though, because sometimes we just don't even know about them, or something's changed and we haven't had time to figure out how to make it work. So hopefully this will help some of you. So the first thing I do want to show you is you can stay informed yourself if you go to help.instructure.com, then click on the link right in the middle where it says Release Notes, and then you should see a little subscribe button. Now, if you don't see the subscribe button, look in the top right corner of your screen, and there will be a little login button. If you click on that and then log in, that subscribe button will show up, and when you subscribe to the release notes, you'll get everything, an email when they do something that's going into production or something that is just going into beta. So stay informed yourself. That's a great place to go to find out what's going on. So some big stuff that's coming up. After May 24th, Instructure will no longer support Internet Explorer. So Firefox is kind of the unofficial preferred browser for Canvas. Things usually work in Chrome or Safari, but I'll tell you 90% of the time when somebody says this isn't working, I don't see the button, why is this looking different? It's because they're not using Firefox. So, and if they're using Internet Explorer, things haven't been working very well for a long time. They just aren't going to support it at all anymore. So you might want to tell all of your teachers, all of your students, make sure you're using Firefox and that you're using the most updated version. Yeah, too bad 80% of schools are using Internet Explorer. I know that's kind of an issue sometimes when I go out to do trainings and they say, well, we don't have anything else other than Internet Explorer. Well, that's going to have to change, I think, because after May 24th, Instructure will no longer support it. Also, after May 24th, you will no longer be able to use the old calendar. Now, some of you might have already switched to Calendar 2. Some of you might still be using Calendar 1. And when you go into the calendar, right above Saturday, there will be a big blue button that will say Try Calendar 2 if you haven't already switched over. If you haven't, you're going to want to switch over now, and there's actually some pretty cool features in the new calendar that have been around for a long time. Calendar 2 has been available for quite some time, but after May 24th, everyone is going to have to use Calendar 2. Calendar 1 will no longer be available, so you might as well get started using it right now. So some of the things to show you in Calendar 2, the first thing is I like up here, and sorry, I'm not very good at drawing with my mouse, you and your students can select the view that you want to look at. Now, the week view, of course, is going to be a week view. Monthly view is what we're all pretty used to. The agenda just gives students and teachers a list of everything, very similar to the agenda view in Google or Outlook. And the scheduler is actually a really cool thing. The scheduler allows you to create appointments in your calendar that other people can sign up for. I could see schools using this for parent-teacher conferences, for IEP meetings, for SEOPs, anything that you would need to schedule students for or parents, you can use the scheduling tool. It's pretty easy to use. You can click on it and just go through the instructions. Now, in the new calendar, there's also, oh, Scott, thank you for clarifying on that. I guess I read the release wrong. So thank you, Scott. So IE9 will no longer be supported, but IE10 and 11 will be. But back on the calendar, the new calendar, there's some cool icons to help your students understand what's going on. And you can see right here, this icon, the little calendar, is just an ungraded event. And so students, there's no let's see, actionable item on this. It's just an event. This little icon, the little A plus, is an assignment, and then this last one is the discussion. So your students will be able to use all of those icons to help kind of manage their time and see what's going on in their calendar. Okay. The other thing that I love about the calendar, if you haven't tried this already, it's pretty slick. Underneath your class lists on the calendar, there is an item that says Undated Item. And if you click on that, it will show you all of the items in your classes that don't have dates associated with them. So maybe you were working on some assignments and weren't exactly sure when they were going to be dated. The cool thing is, once you highlight or open up this undated item list, you can click and drag these items onto the calendar. So that's pretty cool. Just click and drag. Okay. They've also redesigned how groups work. If you haven't been using student groups, you access the group tool from the People tab inside your course. From the People tab on the right side, there will be a Groups button. And when you select that, you can now create student groups that you can use when you are assigning group assignments. And you can have multiple groups in each class. So you might have maybe reading groups, and you might have math groups, and you might have, I don't know, project groups, or whatever it is. You can have multiple groups. You can see from this screen that you can allow your students to self-sign up. And for those of you who are using sections, there is also a button that you can require group members to be in the same section. Now, notice moving down this little menu, I can have Canvas split my students automatically into equal groups, or I can create the groups manually. Sometimes that's a little bit easier, especially if I'm making these groups based on ability or some other criteria that I have to manually do that. So to do that, there'll be a button to add groups. You can name the groups, and then within each group set, you create the individual groups. So you can see I was really creative here, and I went for group 1, group 2, and group 3. You might call them, I don't know, blue group, yellow group, or maybe, get really creative and let students pick their own name or something like that. And then I can just click and drag student names into those groups. So then when I'm doing a group assignment, it will ask me use assignment groups, and I can select which group from that I've already created to push those assignments out. So this click and drag is a little bit different from how it used to be, but it works. It's really slick. And I also like the option of having students sign up for their own groups, particularly if it's just something like I need 5 people in a group to do discussions or something like that. Okay, moving on. In the gradebook, they have now added the ability for you as a teacher to add a notes column. And this would have been really useful for me when I was teaching in an open entry, open exit classroom. It would have been nice to have a notes column where I could put maybe when the student was going to be exiting my program, or if I need to remember that this student has a modified grading scale or something like that. But when you're in the gradebook, right next to where it says show all sections, you can see if you click on the gear, down at the bottom, there's now show notes column. And then to enter something in, you just click on the little field, or the box next to the student's name, and you can add some notes. Now, I think you only have about 255 characters, so this isn't where you would write, discipline actions that are going to the principal's office or something like that. But you could add little notes to help yourself remember something about this student. And you just click save, and then it's right there in the notes column. There's also an API for those of you who might be administrators. There is an API that can allow you to add additional columns at the account level. Now, the notes column, teachers can add or they can hide it. But if something is added at the account level and the Canvas administrator pushes that out, teachers cannot hide that column. So just keep that in mind, that they function a little bit differently. But I do think that that notes column could be really useful in many situations. Okay, now I don't know how many of you have seen this. This is relatively new, but in modules, you can now see progress that each of your students are making in those modules and on the assignments in those modules. So from the module view, up at the top, you'll see the big blue button that says Create a Module, and right next to it, you have View Progress. When you click on View Progress, you will see, like the majority of the screen shows, Module Progress by Student. You'll see a list of students on the left, and if you select a student, then it will show you on the far right if they're working on an item in a module, or if they have completed the item in a module. So if you're using modules for maybe self-pacing, this is a great way to just get a quick look at how students are progressing. And I like that this gives me a little bit different view from the gradebook. It's altogether I can filter it a little bit better in my brain. So the view progress from modules is really nice, and that's a relatively new feature. Now the new conversations is out as well too. And the way when I go do trainings on Canvas, I often say that the inbox in Canvas is a lot like email, but way more confusing. And I think that there's some features that they're working on, and one that they have just pushed out with new conversations. I think all of you are going to want to switch to new conversations right away when I tell you this, and that's the ability to select multiple messages and archive them at once. I'm hearing clapping in the background on that one. That is the biggest time waster, to have to select on individual messages to archive them. So if you want to try out new conversations, you need to click on your inbox, and then you'll see the little question mark and a down arrow in the top right, click on the down arrow, and then one of the options will be try new conversations. Select that, and now you'll get a new little menu up above your conversations. And I just did a little screen capture of that menu, and I showed you that the little file box is the archive. So you can select multiple messages at once by doing the shift or the click, select one at the top, and then you scroll down a little bit and then do shift click, and it will highlight every message in between. And then you can click on the archive button and it archives them all at once. Woohoo! That is so awesome. I hope that everyone else is as excited about that one as I was. You can also see that you can click on the garbage pail as well if you just want to garbage them. One of the other features that they just added in Conversations is when you start to write a new message to a class. This was a big issue for me because we teach the same class multiple times. So I would start typing it and it would do that autofill and give me a drop-down list of all of my classes that had the same name, but I couldn't tell which one was the current class because it didn't show me dates on it or terms or anything like that. So I had to kind of guess. Yeah, I made a mistake one time and sent out an email message to a whole class that had ended 6 months ago. So now when you start typing, it only shows you classes that are active. So that's really nice. If a class has been concluded or if the term that it's in has ended, you won't see that. So that's really nice. Okay, moving right along. Also, from your conversations or your inbox, you can now filter your messages based on class. So on the left side, it will say all courses, and then if you do the drop down, you can select all of your current courses. And you can see that you can still get to your concluded courses if you need to send a message out after the course is concluded. You can still access those, but this is pretty slick to be able to filter by class as well. Okay, coming March 1st, this is huge. Mastery Gradebook. If you're not using outcomes and rubrics right now to help you manage what's going on in your class, you're going to want to take a look at it, because now when you associate an outcome via a rubric to an assignment, we can now see how students are progressing toward those outcomes. And you can see that red means that a student is not at mastery or even near mastery, yellow is near mastery, and green is mastery. So I don't know exactly how this works yet. I haven't seen it live to play with it and be able to tell you how it's going to work exactly, but I'm really excited about this and think that this is going to be really cool. So Scott, I don't know if you know much more about the Mastery Gradebook, if you could type anything in the chat box if you know anything, but I'm really, really excited about this. Okay, now also coming March 1st, there is going to be a little bit of a change in the course import. Right now when you import a course, by default it selects everything. That's going to change to be the reverse, so that it will no longer be select all. You will have to select each individual item to come into your class. You will be able to select by groups, like assignments, you can select all assignments at once. Discussions, you can select all discussions, but no longer is it everything automatically. And I think that that's a good change, because often we end up with junk in our classes that shouldn't be there because we're just importing everything. Especially when you're using announcements. I don't know if any of you have noticed this, that it pulls the announcements over too, unless you deselect them. So you have to go in and delete them later, and that's kind of a hassle. Okay, that's about it. I have a tendency to only go about 20 minutes. I don't know what it is. My timing is off. I think the last 3 faculty lounge that I've done, I've only talked about 10 minutes. I don't know if I talked too fast or something, but we have some time. Does anybody have any questions about Canvas? Yes, I do talk fast. I'll try to slow it down a little bit. Does anybody have any questions about Canvas, though? I'd be happy to answer anything while we're here. And Scott, don't go away, because I might need you to help answer a couple questions too. Oh, lots of people are typing. I can't wait to see these questions. I have no idea, Tim, if they partnered with Mastery Connect or just copied. I have no idea. So do all teachers have access to Canvas? All teachers everywhere have access to a free for teachers Canvas account that you can use on your own. Some of those reporting features, some of the outcomes and rubrics and stuff work a little bit better if it's in a paid instance. So Canvas is a paid for product, and you can get more information about it at instructure.com. UEN has helped negotiate a contract with them for all of Utah so that we get a little bit better price than anybody else in the world. It's really quite nice. And thanks, Scott, for sharing the longer-term product roadmap. That's pretty cool. And Sean, the calendar too, you don't see it. You'll need to go into the calendar, and then there should be a blue button on the top right that says switch to new calendar or switch to calendar 2, something like that. But you get there from the global navigation where it just says calendar at the top. Click on that first. I hope that helps. We've already switched here at UEN. And it's possible, Sean, that if you're on a paid instance, that your administrator already made the switch for you. Even if your school district doesn't license Canvas, any teacher who wants to use it can use it for free. That is correct. You want to sign up for a free for teachers account. There's some pretty, it functions just like the regular thing does. The regular thing, oh my gosh, it's late in the afternoon. The regular website does. So would this make it so we wouldn't need a website? Yeah, Matt, I think that you could really use this in place of a website if you made your course public. And if you want to enroll students and have them submit assignments, you could, but you wouldn't necessarily need to. And Sean, you don't see it. I don't see any switch either, SCDC. Maybe we can talk offline. I don't know if you've got my office number, but it's you can call me and I can see if we can help you out with the SCDC stuff. Here's my phone number. Oops. I'm going to put in, that's Jared's cell phone number right there, so you can call him. Just kidding, that's my office number. Okay. So there you have it. Any other questions?
Well, I'm going to jump in, Mindy. Thank you for a great presentation. It's always good to have somebody point out some of the great new features since Canvas is becoming a big part of so many of our lives. So it's good to keep up. So with that, guys, we're going to wrap up for today. We're glad you could stop by. A reminder, these are recorded and you can re-watch them later or share them with your fellow teachers. We'll have our new schedule up for the rest of the school year shortly. We don't have our topics quite all decided yet, but we'll be posting those online on the Faculty Lounge page, so check there. Also, if you'd like to get a weekly email, you can subscribe to the email list, and you can do that on the Faculty Lounge page as well. So with that, thanks for coming, everyone, and have a good rest of your week.